Hey everyone, welcome to day number 2. I'm continuing my reading in YouVersion on the 1-year Bible reading plan, which I will link somewhere in the description for your use. Today the reading entailed Genesis chapter 3 and chapter 4, a little bit of Matthew chapter 2 and Matthew chapter 3, and then a psalm and a proverb. In Genesis chapter 3, you can really sense that the serpent symbolizes something a lot broader than what we see in the scriptures. The serpent embodies both wisdom and danger, and it reflects in the ancient Near Eastern imagery that snakes symbolized something. They symbolized death, fertility, chaos, immortality. And we see different myths like in Gilgamesh and Adapa, where humans encounter temptation and lost opportunities. And we see here that the desire to be like God is evident through wisdom. Adam and Eve eat the fruit, the forbidden fruit as we know, triggering labor pains, triggering toil and death. And it really speaks of this broader cultural association of life's general struggles. Fig leaves, which back in that day, fig leaves were large enough to actually cover the human body, so it was very possible and probable that fig leaves were a viable option to cover the body with, which is what Adam and Eve did. Fig leaves, skin garments, and cherubim, all packed within this one chapter, illustrate authority, protection, and divine provision. Moving on to Genesis chapter 4, Cain and Abel offer gifts to God, not as sacrifices for sin, but to simply express gratitude. We see that God did not require that of them, but that they gave that willingly as a gift to God. We see that the Lord accepted Abel's gift, but did not accept Cain's gift. We see that Abel was a keeper of animals, while Cain was a farmer of crops. So they each brought different gifts, but we see that Cain likely gave his gift grudgingly. Cain is actually punished to a nomadic lifestyle, and something that I didn't know is that a nomadic lifestyle was rather common back then, and it reflected this ancient herder who was semi-nomadic and lived a semi-nomadic lifestyle. And it actually conflicted with farmers who were settled. So there was a lot of blood vengeance, strife that was caused, and that became common in ungoverned areas because these nomadic people were traveling through the area, going from pasture to pasture, and were not settled in one place like farmers were. And so perhaps this is the reason for God's mark upon Cain. Even though he was punished as a nomad, God would assure him protection in his travels. See, farmers would get upset because these nomads would use their water and their land to help feed their livestock. So they had to come up with deals, but those deals did not always go over so well. But we see that Cain's descendants were very innovative in city building and animal domestication and music, and showing early human creativity and societal development. We also see polygamy, and that was practiced for labor, for lineage, for alliances. And these narratives connect early Israelite experience to broader cultural norms within the day. We see in Matthew chapter 2, Joseph's family flees to Egypt, a region with a larger Jewish population. Actually, at the time, it was a population of 1 million, and of those 1 million, a third of them were Jewish. And it included wealthy Greek-educated Jews in Alexandria and a long-established community in Elephantine. Travel within Egypt was easy along the Nile, though the route from Bethlehem was not so easy and was pretty rough. By leaving at night, they actually avoided detection, and they actually related to something in the past, as we know, the Exodus. Echoing past Exoduses and God's protection of deliverance, like Moses, Herod, like Pharaoh, sought to kill male infants, also reflecting oppressive rulers of Israel's history. And after Herod's death, Joseph returns. He settles in a little town called Nazareth. And though it was small, it was still apparently culturally connected, so they weren't disconnected from culture of the day. And Matthew often connects these events to Old Testament prophecies that show Jesus fulfilling Israel's story. In Matthew chapter 3, the words "in those days" introduces John the Baptist. And it really speaks of Old Testament prophecy. Many in Jesus' time expected a leader to bring deliverance and a new exodus. Jewish people recognized God's rule, but prayed for his kingdom to be fully established. Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 3 speaks of preparing a straight highway for God's people returning from exile. John lives simply. This is just a relaxed dude. He's eating wild honey. He's wearing rough clothing like Elijah and other prophets who lived outside of society at the time. He calls people to repentance and baptism, treating Jewish people on the same terms as converts, preparing the way for the coming of Jesus Christ. Thanks for joining me on day 2, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow.